Stage 0. Pre-beekeeping or honey hunting. Bees have existed and been happy for many tens of millions of years before man came to existence. Ancient man discovered that there were insects that made a sweet product, and it was in the hollows of trees. Man would get in there, ruin the nest, take the honey, and the bees would die. Stage 1. Natural beekeeping, the first human intervention. Man figured out that it was possible not to ravage the nest completely and kill the bees, but to take only some of the honey, so hollows with holes on the backside appeared. Special features. The same with stage 0. Bee families live 500 to 1,000 meters away, separating one family from another. Bees had a full-fledged forest base, the forest, so the honey had unique medicinal properties, minimal contact between the families, including not stealing honey from each other and thus not spreading disease between the families. The inconvenience for the man? He had to walk through the woods, climb trees. Stage 2. Domestication of honeybees. Prerequisites. Extermination of old growth forests with hollow trees. Desires. To make honey harvesting easier. To make honey production possible in treeless areas, as well as especially on homestead plots. To ensure the safety of the beehives from being destroyed by animals and from theft. To bring the honey production sites closer to roads and markets. Bees were concentrated in one area, next to each other, so they had to fly far away and begin to wear out and weaken faster. The development of agriculture, the cultivation of monocultures on large areas, led to a restriction of the forage base in terms of assortment. Then people started using pesticides, fertilizers, and this contaminated the nectar with artificial chemicals. The first significant changes in bees and honey began. As a result, reducing the quality of honey, weakening the health of bees, the loss of immunity to disease. Stage 3. The invention of the honeycomb frame. Humans realized that bees spend a lot of time building honeycombs, and if honeycombs were used as a kind of receptacle, taking and returning them, the bees would only gather honey and not waste energy building those honeycombs every time the man broke them out. Humans began to use the honeycomb repeatedly and thus spread disease from sick hives to healthy ones. Stage 4. The invention of the rectangular hive. The rectangular hive is as human-friendly as possible and far removed from the natural hollow in which bees have lived for tens of millions of years. The main feature was that the honey stocks for the winter were not stored above the bees, as in a hollow, but on the side, which required extra effort to warm it up. But the biggest disadvantage of the rectangular hive was the cold corners, where condensation and various molds accumulated. Stage 5. Extracting honey with a centrifuge. To make the process of extracting honey faster and cheaper, people invented different machines. Centrifuged honey absorbs air and foreign particles from it, including various pathogens. As a result, the honey is oxidized and contaminated, and the essential oils and other beneficial substances are volatilized. Stage 6. Wax foundation. Even on frames, bees could, according to their biology, build uneven honeycombs with different cell sizes for honey, drones, etc. It was inconvenient for man to remove such frames from the hive, and so he invented wax foundation with standard cell sizes. Another gross human intervention with detrimental consequences for the evolution of bee genetics. Stage 7. Feeding bees with sugar syrup. Beekeepers take the honey to sell, and the bees are given sugar syrup for hibernation, which, unlike honey, contains no proteins, lipids, minerals, vitamins. The result is that the bees become weaker, sicker, less sensitive, and selective to sources of carbohydrates. Stage 8. Heating honey. Centrifuged honey crystallizes faster and makes processing, pouring, packaging, etc. more difficult. In addition, most customers prefer liquid honey. Heating damages the nutrients in honey and thus reduces its nutritional benefits and healing properties. Each time people did what was convenient for them and did not consider evolution in what bee biology, their behavior in nature, how they were able to survive for 100 million years, long before man came along. This primarily led to the weakening of the bees by their diseases, which required human support, including the use of various means, including chemical ones. Thus, the bees reached a state where they could no longer produce that wild honey, and the fruits of human intervention, pesticides, synthetic drugs, began to accumulate in the honey.